Hello and welcome to this first lecture on developing data-driven decision-making culture in this course, Data Analysis and Data Analytics. In this new section, we will help you get an in-depth view of developing data-driven decision-making culture, right? And as a part of that, we will begin by taking a look at how to train teams on interpreting and using data. And as you know now that training teams on how to interpret and use data as part of developing a data-driven decision culture to basically align analytics with the business goals, right? So let's take a look at how to train teams on how to interpret and use data. And before we do that, we look at the steps that you can take to do that. Let us understand that to build a data-driven culture, the teams need training, tools, and a mind shift towards using data for everyday decision making. And more than training in tools, I think it is the mindset shift for using data for everyday decision making that is critical. Now, how to train and empower teams to make data backed decisions effectively? Let us take a look at the steps that you can take. So, the first step is to establish a data driven mindset because as we were talking that is probably the most important thing. So before training teams you need to create a company wide data culture where the decisions are made on insights, not on intuition, not what I think versus what the data tells me. And employee trust and rely on data. They don't kind of rubbish the data that comes out, which is especially when it is not in supporting your intuition. And data literacy is a priority across all departments. All departments is critical. So you need to establish a data-driven mindset. Now, to illustrate this of establishing a data-driven mindset, a marketing manager would rely on campaign performance if such a mindset is established, not just instincts, and that he or she will use to adjust the ad spending. So that is what we mean by establishing a data-driven mindset. The second step would be to assess current data skills and training needs. Once you have started establishing the mindset, you need to then do the skill assessment and training need assessment. And there you need to understand your team's data training gaps, knowledge gaps, and tailor the training accordingly. And the kind of questions that you need to ask to assess the data skills. First, you need to ask whether do employees understand the basic data concepts like KPIs, trends, dashboards, etc., etc. The second question that you can ask is can teams interpret and report matrices from BI tools? Are they familiar? Can they do that? Or do you need to develop that capability? Third question could be to ask is to do managers know how to use data for decision making? Because if managers know, the people down the line will also start knowing, right? And does the team struggle? The last question would be, does the team struggle with data visualization and storytelling? Because that's an important part of data skills, right? Now, a sales team may need training on CRM analytics to understand conversion rate trends. So that is an example of the data skills and training needs required. The third step would be to provide role-based data training based on the roles that they're expected to perform. And there you need to customize training based on the job roles and data responsibilities. What are the kinds of role-based data training framework that we can look at? So if the role is, if you are an executive or a manager, then your data skills needed are data-driven decision making and KPI tracking, and your training could be in the areas like strategic data use, BI dashboards use, etc. If you're a marketing team, you might need your skills needed are digital analytics, campaign performance, and their training could be on Google Analytics, A/B testing, marketing metrics. Sales teams' data needs could be CRM insights, revenue forecasting, and they may need training on lead tracking, pipeline analytics. Operations teams data skills need could be in process efficiency, supply chain analytics, and they may benefit from training on inventory management, demand forecasting. Finance teams could need that data skills could be in the areas of financial analytics, risk assessment, and they would benefit from training in profit loss account reports, forecasting models, and the data analysts themselves may need some training, and their areas could be advanced analytics, visualization, and the training topics could be SQL, Python, Power BI, and Tableau. A customer service team could get trained on Net Promoter Score as a topic to improve the customer satisfaction. Right? So that's an area. The role is to improve customer satisfaction. And if they don't know about Net Promoter Scores to analyze, that would be one area to get trained on. The fourth step would be to use hands-on learning in real business scenario because classroom training has a limit of only imparting knowledge. So instead of theoretical training, use real world business cases, right? They are a lot more useful and they ingrain training into you. Now, what are the training techniques for better learning? You could do webinars and workshops where you hold interactive sessions on using BI tools. You could use the live dashboards where you train teams to interpret company metrics in Power BI or Tableau. You could look at case studies to analyze past business decisions driven by data, and you could throw data driven challenges by asking teams to solve real problems with data. How would a retail company do that? A retail company could run a training where employees analyze sales data to find peak shopping hours and suggest staffing adjustments. So that would be an example of learning, hands-on learning, and real-life business scenario. The fifth step would be to implement BI and self-service data tools where you need to empower teams with user-friendly BI tools and allow non-technical employees to explore data. What are the best BI tools for non-technical users? Shall we take a look at that? So Power BI is one which is best for interactive dashboards for business KPIs. Tableau is another one for drag and drop data visualization. Google Data Studio for easy to use free marketing dashboards, Looker for cloud-based analytics for deeper insights, and the evergreen Excel with pivot tables and charts for simple ad hoc data analysis. So these are some BI and self-service data tools that you can implement. A sales team would learn to track monthly revenue trends and they could use Power BI dashboards without needing technical skills, right? The step six would be to foster a data-driven decision-making process. You need to encourage data-backed decision-making by embedding data reviews into daily operations, right? And what are the best practices to reinforce data use? Make KPI visible. Use real-time dashboards for transparency. Hold data-driven meetings in which you base discussions on reports, not gut feels. You reward database decision making by recognizing employees who use data effectively, and you could encourage data curiosity and by letting team experiment with insights and trends. As an example, a marketing team must present data insights in every meeting before proposing budget changes. So, making a data a must for any decisions or recommendations could start fostering a data-driven decision-making process. The seventh step would be to create continuous learning opportunity. A data-driven culture requires ongoing learning and upskilling. And what are the ways to keep data training ongoing? One is to hold monthly data workshops in which you cover new analytics features and best practices. Then you could have mentorship programs in which you pair data experts with beginners. Third, you could do an online learning and self-certification program, like in which you have Udemy, Coursera, LinkedIn Learning for data courses. And you could have internal data newsletters to share best practices and success stories. An example of creating online or continuous learning opportunity could be that a finance team completes a Tableau certification course to enhance data visualization skills. So that's an example of continuous learning. So summary, let's take a look at what are the steps you need to take to train teams and build data-driven culture. First and most important is to establish a data mindset where you shift from intuition to data-backed decisions. Then you assess training needs where you identify knowledge gaps across departments. Then you provide role-based training based on the knowledge assessment and tailor learning to job functions. Then you start getting into hands-on learning by teaching with real-world business cases and implement self-service BI tools by empowering teams with easy-to-use dashboards and encourage data in decision making. Embed insights into meetings and strategy. If there's a meeting and some discussion taking place, you encourage data being asked and presented. And finally, you offer continuous learning by keeping teams updated with new analytical skills. So, what is next? So, having looked at how to train teams on how to interpret and use data, we will now look at how to encourage leadership itself to rely on evidence based insight because that's a critical thing in developing data driven decision making culture. So, thank you so much for watching this first lecture on developing data driven decision making culture in this course, Data Analysis and Data Analytics. I hope you're continuing to learn new things, continuing to enjoy, and I do look forward to see you again in the next lecture. Please feel free to message me if you have any questions. I'll be happy to answer your questions and do download the PDF file to take a look at anything that you need to.